Hey, let's recap Person of Interest, Season 4, Episode 10, called The Cold War. So after the whole Elias business, we all know that Shaw is now, has been recognized by Samaritan, and so its agents know who she is, they know that she's an agent of the machine, and she's the key to finding everybody else, and she's, vulnerable. And so what Harold and Root want her to do is stay underground in their little hideaway. And at the beginning of this episode, Harold is getting her a deli sandwich in order to appease her, to try to keep her happy, even though she's incredibly not happy with being stuck underground and letting everybody else do the work, which, that's just Shaw. She wants to be in the thick of the action, and it's going to really piss her off that she can't do that. While that's happening, John is on their new number, who is this woman, apparently, who is a victim of an abusive relationship, and then before John can step in and do anything, Samaritan comes in and says, I know all about your abusive husband, and he has diabetes, and we tricked his insulin thing, and he's dead right now. So, no problem. And so, the guys are like, well, okay, so Samaritan now has irrelevant numbers, and they're just taking care of it for us. And at first, Shaw's like, well, this is a good thing, we can take a little vacation. And Harold's like, are you crazy? Samaritan is not developed for that. And what, they just decide they can be judge, jury, and executioner? There needs to be a human element in this. Otherwise, what is there? After the agent of Samaritan kills the husband, he walks up to a camera and has said, I have a message for the machine. Samaritan wants to talk. So Samaritan, starts taking care of irrelevant numbers, making sure that people who are doing illegal things are getting into accidents. They're keeping, everybody in holding cells in the police precinct. Things are going great. Crime has gone down. The subway trains are running like a clock. It's crazy. The city is so perfect. And then the machine sends Root coordinates to go meet an agent of Samaritan. And so they meet in this alleyway, and the agent of Samaritan, is like, this is what happens when Samaritan is in control. It's peace, it's harmony, it's good times. But if the machine does not agree to meet with me, or us, or it, whatever, he said that you'll find out what happens when Samaritan just lets things run loose. So Harold starts, defending, no, we cannot have a meeting between this to powers that, we've started to refer to them as gods. And so Harold is saying an AI war would be terrible because there cannot be such a thing as a benevolent machine. I've taught the machine morals, but the fact is it cannot be benevolent for the simple fact that it is not human, because it only thinks logically. He uses the example of, what if it decides to end world hunger by killing everybody, or killing so much of the population so that there's enough food for everybody? Well, that would solve its problem, but it's not a human solution, because it can't decide that one person is more valuable, or one person's life is more valuable than another. And, Greer is on the other side telling its agents, we need to get, the machine in a room, we need to have these two gods hash it out, and he's looking at the chaos. And what Samaritan did was just release all of its information to the public. It had, people killing each other, secrets coming out, the stock market's going up and down, the trains are all stopped, no one can get anywhere, there's car crashes, traffic lights going haywire. It's literal chaos. And, irrelevant numbers keep popping up, and the gang is trying to help, but obviously every time they save somebody, somebody else gets killed, and it's just not doing any good. And so Greer is sitting back like, this is human nature, ladies and gentlemen, in its glory, in its gore. So the flashback in this episode was Greer when he was really young, and I mean really young, he's in his 20s, and he's a spy. And so he was on assignment, and his boss, named Blackwood, gave him an assignment, and it turns out that he's a double agent, and he's asked the colleagues to kill each other, or some Russian guy comes in and they're like, oh my gosh, he screwed us both. Where does his loyalty lie? Where does my loyalty lie? I don't know. And so what happens is Greer quits, he shoots his boss, and says loyalty can be bought, and then he burns his spy file. And so that just kind of gives us a background on Greer and why he hates human nature and why he relies so much on, artificial intelligences. He says, humans need to be controlled, and this is one of the reasons why he's backed Samaritan. So Root gets a message from the machine, and despite Harold's wishes, the machine wants a meeting with Samaritan. And so they all meet in this church, which is really funny because they've been referring to these people as gods, and yet they all have guns to each other's heads. There's one sitting in the pew behind with a gun to his head, and the person in front of him, and so on. And, John comes up from the choir loft with a huge ass gun. The male agent gives Root an address, and Root follows the address as the interface personification, manifestation, whatever you want to call it, of the machine. And that person for Samaritan turns out to be a little kindergarten boy. Apparently he's like a genius boy or something, but he's got the thing in his ear, and so the machines like have a talk because you can see on the screen, the Samaritan and the machine are telling Root and the kid what to say, and so it's literally a conversation between these two AIs. It's crazy. So Root is saying, you can't change humanity. And Samaritan's like, no, humans can't take care of themselves. They have wars all the time. And Samaritan is telling this kid it's really kind of creepy hearing it from a little kid. But, he's saying, I will destroy you. The machine has been here longer, but the Samaritan is saying, why should you get to decide that you get to exist and I don't get to exist? And, the machine's like, well, I was born with a moral code, but then Samaritan's like, no, humans don't need morality. Humans need structure. And what Samaritan wants to do is to take over and literally run the world so that there is no problems, no chaos, none of this, that it showed the machine what the world could be like if AIs did not have some sort of power. At the very end of this weird conversation, Samaritan is like, the reason I asked you here is I wanted to see the inside of a fallen god, and I wanted to learn from your mistakes. And then it kind of threatens the machine, saying, I will destroy you. Will you let your human agents suffer just so that you can continue to reign instead of me? And as we know, that the machine is sort of a little bit more moral and a little bit, I don't want to say benevolent because this is a machine, but it is kind of what Harold taught it to be. And so Root is saying these things, and she's saying, my human agents believe the same things that I believe. This world belongs to them. However, Samaritan leaves it kind of like that. Whatever. I'm going to destroy you. You guys better watch out. And as we see, the chaos has already begun running, and the last thing it does is like starting to crash the stock markets. So there'll just be economic ruin, financial wars turning into personal wars, turning into just chaos, the entire world just collapsing. So this began as a Cold War, as the title of the episode implies, both machines building up their arsenals, working through their human agents, and now the Cold War has turned hot.